most of the American fighters, pundits, etc., trainers who I've seen talking about this AJ Ruiz rematch are picking Ruiz to repeat the same result as the first fight. Most of them are writing Anthony Joshua off. Now, it does remind me very much of the lead up to Lennox Lewis versus Hasim Rahman 2. Now, again, some people are going to say, Lewis was knocked out with one punch. He didn't take a sustained beating. AJ took a sustained beating. It's different. Well, how different is it really? Because if you go back to that Lewis-Rahman first fight in South Africa, Lewis took several big shots prior to being knocked out by Rahman. He was making defensive errors prior to getting cleaned out by that right hand, nearly knocked out cold. And here's the crux of it. Lewis didn't get up. He couldn't get up. He was too badly hurt, right? But he didn't get up. Anthony Joshua got up. The fact that he got up after being dropped and hurt, he went on to take a sustained beating after that. He wasn't taking a sustained beating before the knockdown. No. Go back and watch the fight. The person who landed by far the most clean, effective punches prior to that third round was Anthony Joshua. He was hitting Andy Ruiz with left hooks, lead left hooks, solid jabs. He walked him on to right hands several times in those first two rounds, or and a little bit of the third round. AJ was the one landing most of the clean shots. This is a fact. Go back and look at the tape. So the point I'm making is, it all fell apart for AJ. Yeah, there were warning signs in the first two rounds that Ruiz was dangerous, but AJ was still landing the better shots. It all fell apart, and he started taking a beating after he got dropped in the third. Yeah? If Lewis somehow had managed to get up against Rahman, who's to say he wouldn't have taken a sustained beating? Who's to say he would have, been able to shake off the effects of the knockdown? Maybe he would have taken a sustained beating as well. Same in the Oliver McCall fight. He did get up against Oliver McCall, but he wasn't in shape to continue. His legs were all over the place. But if the ref had given him the benefit of the doubt and allowed him to continue, what do you think would have happened to Lennox Lewis? So people are missing this. They're saying, they're acting as though Lewis was just dominating and he just caught with one punch out of the blue. That's not quite what happened in the Rahman fight. He was caught with several shots. He was looking sloppy in that fight prior to getting caught. And in the lead up to that Lewis-Rahman rematch, there were so many people who wrote Lennox Lewis off. I remember like it was yesterday because I was around at the time. I'm of a certain age. I was, a grown adult watching boxing when Lewis fought Rahman in the rematch. Loads of people were writing Lennox Lewis off. Angelo Dundee, the great trainer, the guy who trained Muhammad Ali, he wrote Lennox Lewis off. He said it's going to be the same result again. Lewis is going to go off and have to, drink tea and eat muffins or whatever, cupcakes, whatever it is, crumpets, whatever they claim that we have in England all the time, right? It's what Angelo Dundee was saying about Lennox Lewis. Loads of fighters and pundits, especially in America, were writing Lewis off, saying that all Rahman's got to do is just touch him once on the chin, the fight's over. He's not going to be able to go 12 rounds without getting touched once by Rahman's right hand. It's a done deal. Lewis is done in box. It's what people were saying. Everybody wants to be a genius and an expert in hindsight with 20/20 vision after the fact. But before the fight, people weren't saying that. The people who were, and there were people picking Lewis for the Rahman rematch, picking Lewis to win. But of those people who are picking Lewis to win the Rahman rematch, all of them that I saw were picking Lewis to win on points. None of them were picking Lewis to win by early knockout. So when he went in there, boxed Rahman's ears off for 3 rounds, and then knocked him out in the 4th round, it was a shock to most people. They didn't expect Lennox Lewis to dominate and finish the fight so early. That's not what people were expecting. They were expecting a scared Lennox Lewis to go in there, cowering, worrying about what was coming back at him, But instead, they got a confident guy going in there, showing exactly how good he really was. Showing that first fight, he wasn't really concentrated. He hadn't prepared properly. And that he was levels and levels above Ratman as a fighter. He showed that in the rematch. Now, we're going to see if Anthony Joshua can do the same. If he can overcome the same mental battles. Now, one thing I would say is that with Lennox Lewis, he had prior experience because he'd been knocked out by Oliver McCall. And after the McCall fight, he was gun shy. After the McCall fight, he wasn't quite himself for several fights. That knockout shook him up psychologically. By the time he was knocked out by Rackman, he understood the rehabilitation process. He'd already been through it before. So this time, mentally, he was able to recover much more quickly than he was in the wake of the McCall defeat. Yeah? With Anthony Joshua, he's not the same person as Lennox Lewis. Maybe he can recover quickly without this happening prior to him. This happening prior before in his career as a professional. He's been stopped in the amateurs before, of course. But as a professional, it's never happened. So maybe he can overcome it quickly. Maybe he can't. Maybe there isn't enough time between the first fight and this rematch for him to recover psychologically, make the necessary tactical, technical, and physical adjustments by way of losing weight and potentially extra stamina and speed and all that kind of stuff. Maybe he can't do it. Maybe he'll fail. But then again, maybe he'll succeed. I do think people, particularly in America, are being too hasty in writing Anthony Joshua off. And one of the things that people are clinging onto is this comment that Anthony Joshua made in an interview where he said that Ruiz's left hook was a punch from the gods. And you got a bunch of people running around saying, what's he talking about? He got hit with hundreds of punches. He got hit with loads of shots and he's acting like it was only one punch. Foolishness. They're taking his comment totally out of context. He had just dropped Andy Ruiz. This is the way he explained it, and it was clear as day. This is what he meant by it. He just knocked Ruiz out. 9 times out of 10, probably 99 times out of 100, when Anthony Joshua was in that position with an opponent who's just been dropped heavy by a big left hand, AJ's going to go in there and finish him. But on this occasion, with this opponent, Andy Ruiz, who was fighting for his own survival in that moment, landed a tremendous left hook and dropped AJ. So AJ was like, look, it was a great punch. It was a punch from the gods because he needed it at that time. Andy Ruiz even said that when he was on the canvas, he was praying to God for help. That's what Andy Ruiz said out of his own mouth. And notice Ruiz hasn't disagreed with AJ saying it was a punch from the gods. He hasn't disagreed with it. He said, yeah, it was a punch from the gods. A punch from the gods doesn't mean it was a lucky punch. Many people would argue that no punches are lucky punches. Doesn't mean it was a lucky punch. It just means that in that situation, normally the fight would be over and AJ would win. But on this occasion, Andy Ruiz, who was in trouble, managed to land one back and ended up as world heavyweight champion. Yeah, but people like to take that out of context and actors. And so what happened after that with AJ taking a sustained beating? Again, he took the sustained beating after the knockdown, not before the knockdown, after the knockdown. That knockdown changed the course of the fight. Of course it did. Because up until that knockdown when AJ dropped Ruiz, prior to that, AJ was the one landing all the good shots in the first couple rounds. Go watch the fight again. You don't have to listen to me or take any opinion. It's fact. Go and look at the video. AJ's landing lead left hooks, walking Ruiz onto jabs, walking him onto right hands. Ruiz ain't doing that to AJ in the first 2 rounds. AJ's doing it to him. So that the whole course of the fight changes in that 3rd round when AJ gets shook up and he never really recovers. And that's one of AJ's weaknesses, is that he doesn't recover quickly from being shaken up. That's one thing we can say about the guy. When he gets shaken up or hurt, it takes him a long time to recover from it. Yeah? And that's probably always going to be an issue for him. But yeah, that's my take on it, people. Drop your take in the comment section below. For me, this is not so much about who Anthony Joshua is sparring and all this kind of stuff going into the rematch, because he's been in the ring with Andy Ruiz before. He knows what he's like. He knows what he can do. It's more about Anthony Joshua overcoming mental demons. And if Anthony Joshua goes in there and deals with Andy Ruiz easily and shows us who he is and puts on a dominant display, if he does that, if you're not giving him credit afterwards, you are a monumental idiot. Look, beating Andy Ruiz doesn't mean he's going to be the best heavyweight in the world. No. But beating Andy Ruiz, if he does it decisively in good fashion, means that he has a level of mental strength, a level of mental fortitude that many people did not think he had. That's what it means if he can go in. And even if he struggles with Ruiz, but bites down on his gum shield and still comes through and wins, it shows he's got a level of mental strength that people didn't think he had. Yeah? I don't know why, because he's shown mental strength in several fights previous. But of course there are levels of mental strength, right? Maybe this is a whole new level of strength that he needs to conjure up. So, will people give him credit? Now, of course, if he gets blasted out, if it's repeat, not revenge, then maybe the things people were saying about AJ not being that strong mentally are true, at least at this stage of his career. Because as I said previously, if you'd put Lennox Lewis in with Oliver McCall immediately after that first fight, Lewis probably would have lost again. Because it took him a long time to get over that McCall defeat mentally. He wasn't as strong when he lost to McCall mentally as he was when he lost to Hasim Ratman the first time. He'd grown as a person. So we'll see what AJ can do. Is he as strong now as he'll ever be, or will his mental strength grow from here? It's a make or break situation. Some guys are absolutely destroyed by situations like this. Other people grow from it. Like Lennox Lewis grew mentally from the McCall defeat, became stronger. Manny Stewart said Lennox Lewis never really believed in himself 100% until the final stages of his career. He said that's when Lewis really became the complete fighter, because he believed in himself totally. Because he came back from that Hasim Ratman defeat and fought him with supreme confidence. There was not even a tiny amount of detectable concern in Lennox Lewis in the ring against Ratman. He was totally confident, believed in his ability, 100% believed that Ratman first fight was just an anomaly because he didn't train properly and all that kind of stuff, wasn't in the right mind frame. Went to South Africa 7 days before the fight when he's fighting at altitude. He didn't acclimatize or whatever, when Hasim Ratman had been there for, several weeks. So anyway, let's see what happens in a couple weeks' time, whether AJ can win the titles back or whether he's going to get flattened again. Yeah, but definitely some food for thought for you guys, particularly when it comes to the whole people who say, oh, well, it wasn't one punch. Lewis was knocked out with one punch. Yeah, Lewis was knocked out with one punch. He didn't get up. Couldn't get up. If he had, maybe it would have ended up like AJ Ruiz, where he took a sustained beating. Have you thought about that, people? So, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening about. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.